Traders, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about AMC. I'm breaking down just the price action, just the chart. That is it. I do have a little bit of news that I want to cover in the beginning of the video, and that's just kind of why we saw an uptick on AMC, in my opinion, today. And it was some really good news. We have one analyst actually coming out and setting a higher price target for AMC at $13. I'm not gonna lie, this absolutely blew my mind. So we're gonna get into that here in a second. But before we get into that content, I need you to do two things. If possible, hit that sub button down below and make sure you leave a thumbs up, because a thumbs up really does help the channel. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get to it. Okay, so when it comes to news, this is the only thing that I'm going to take a look at. So as you can see, AMC got a raise on their price target from $7 all the way up to $13. And I do have it highlighted right here. You can see this is where it was raised from. About 39% total of a raise. That's pretty massive as we look right here from $7. That's a huge jump. So that does justify the move that we had today. Now, could this have been a move from short squeezing, something like that? I don't see that happening just quite yet, just because the numbers don't really justify it based on what we're receiving as data right now. Now, I have been an advocate in saying that the numbers are clearly manipulated, but I'm not going to talk about numbers that I don't know. And we do not know the exact numbers, but based on the numbers that we were being given, I don't believe them to be true. It's in the lower 20s. That doesn't appear to be squeezable at this time. And then if the dilution does happen, I do think that would postpone the squeeze even longer. But what they're saying and why they're justifying this move up and actual price target raise was a strong weekend it had with Godzilla. And then they kept saying right here, we have remained impressed with our management's ability to weather the pandemic headwinds by both strengthening the balance sheet and negotiating with landlords to improve cash runway to 2022. Now, they project their numbers won't get back to normal until 2023. So that's a whole nother, year and a half of embracing what's going on right now. So to survive until 2023, they would need to take on some type of dilution, some sort of debt, something like that. And it's inevitable, in my opinion, that we're going to need dilution. If you look at what's going on with GameStop, they just announced they're having dilution, and they actually had a drop down, but a quick resurgence back to the 190 price range. That's important to take into account because it's saving GameStop overall. And now they're going to be able to expand and switch brands and kind of switch their whole niche of their product and use this capital to fund that endeavor. And with AMC, now I don't know if they're switching their business model or anything like that. They have no plans of, telling people anything about that. They have no specific, directional plan for the investors. That's worth mentioning. But this would clear up all the debt over the next 6 months, and that'd be huge for the company's survival and the longevity of the company. But let's get into the good content, what you came here for, the charting, the unbiased content. So this is what I want to look at. One, we had a rejection of this range, but before we got that rejection, we had this area right here, and this was very surprising. So as we kind of get back out of this, you saw we had a breakdown, a test, and then we closed the week. This was the worst possible close we could have seen from AMC. I want that to be taken into account, but all things considered, we continue to just mount the support and keep doing the same thing. We're trending in this zone, and we're getting another push back up to this 1120 range, and now consolidating back on the downside, but still holding VWAP. Now, looking at where we're at, it doesn't look that bad. So we had a rejection of this range right here, right? I never suspect to break through a resistance or support on the first try, okay? That's never what I suspect when looking at a chart or a stock. I always expect to get a downtrend from that resistance and then consolidation and a move back to the upside. That's always how I suspect it, and that's always how I play the stock. And what we're seeing here looks very strong. We're getting that flag. You can see we're getting the flag in that channel. We're trending back above VWAP. Looks very strong. And then as we look at the OBV here in a sec, you're going to see all things are aligning to another push to that upside. It doesn't look that bad. But what we do know, things can be unpredictable with AMC. But there is a few things that remain a constant, and that's price action. We can see the support and the resistances, and we continue to respect them. I do want to point something out on the downtrend that I had highlighted from the last video as well. So you saw that we had this local bottom, and honestly, my money was getting on a double bottom of this range if we were gonna have another leg back up. I did figure going into this week, we'd come to a quick touch and then start making a trend back up if we were gonna remain strong, but we just kind of opened up very strong. So as you see, that range we had here was very, very close to that 8.82, which is the 0.618 retracement of this whole move up from the $6 range all the way up to the 14.5. That's important to note. That's that golden ratio we continue to talk about. So I like that we're holding that range. We haven't went below it. We're remaining respecting that range. As we look at the OBV, This is the order block in which we are operating in. We have sat here for about, give or take, two weeks. So as we look here, let's look really quick. You can see from the 24th of March all the way going into tomorrow, the 6th of April. This is a pretty large time frame, and you can see we're just consolidating, making this bottom. We had a quick touch out, came back up, and now we're maintaining it. Now, one thing I don't like is that we're getting that retest of this range and then pushing back down pretty hard. However, the stock is maintaining, holding above the view up. So there's things citing that there's a continuation type process. But like I said, though, we haven't held above the support, and that's what I want to see. Some consolidation above a support. But it's worth mentioning that we are trending in this range. Now, it's not how we really would like it. We're holding above 9.4, but we're trending in this about $10, 9.5 range all the way up to 11. And we're just holding here. It's honestly pretty strong the way that we're sitting here. You couldn't, like I said, ask for too much more. It's looking very similar if we rewind back to early February when we were seeing that $5 to $650 range and we're bouncing up and down, up and down. We're getting very similar movement, but at that, $10 to $11 range. This is pretty positive. Now, what I expect going into this month overall is just going to be sideways movement. I don't want to see a clean breakout. I don't want to see a super strong move or anything like that. I suspect sideways flat action when it comes to the stock. And why do I expect that? Because we're going to be having the vote on the dilution very soon. I want everyone to know that that's going to be a big deal. We can act like it's not, but it is. If the dilution gets denied, yippee, yay, we're probably going to have a quick move back up. However, I do think it'll be followed by a quick crash back down. That's just worth mentioning because they're going to have to figure out a way to maintain and solve this debt problem. And it looks like dilution is going to be the main answer for that. I see them trying to do it once again. Now, if that doesn't happen and the dilution passes, I suspect to see a little bit of a downside. It's important to know I do believe that's somewhat getting priced in right now. However, I think once the vote passes, we're going to see a more immediate move. And then it could be like GameStop. We could bounce right back up or we could keep going down. We don't know how it's going to respond, and that's going to be the unpredictable. But I will say, if you have shares, I think you're sitting in a fairly decent spot. We're getting consolidation at this $10 range. That's really good news. The fact that you're holding this high and getting consolidation is very nice. If you're holding shares, if the dilution goes through, you have to know your company is now sitting in a very strong position for the longevity of the company. They have life. They don't have an 8-month runway until basically they go under. That's good news. Now, the short-term squeeze happening very soon does not look very positive. That's important that we have to take into account. However, the stock could continue going up. I think GameStop is proof of that. GameStop showed that they're going to be having dilution. It went down and started going back up. Anything can happen. More people can start buying in. And it's worth mentioning if the dilution happens, I suspect personally some apes are going to start selling. And at that point, hedge funds are going to start really laddering into their short positions, and the number is going to start rising again to like the number we saw back in January. That's just something to mention. That's just my 2 cents. In closing, looking at AMC, I have to say, all things considered, it looks very good. I could not have suspected the way we opened this week. Absolutely insane. Now we got a rejection at that 11.2 range, but like I said, it's bull flagging. It looks like continuation is forming. You want to watch that OBV level and make sure we stay in that range because it looks very positive down there. I could see this dragging out another 2 weeks in this like $10 to $11 range, bouncing up and down. I think we're getting a lot of chop. I think the chart proves that. Price action remains steady and it maintains the only constant right now with AMC. So those are things you need to be considering. However, the long-term plan right now with AMC does not look that bad. That's going to wrap this video up. If you got anything out of this, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. I appreciate all the thumbs up because it does wonders for the channel. Have a good one, traders. Namaste.